After finishing up a reality show, the Brady Bunch's Maureen McCormick celebrated with her co-star. Hours later, she went home, but when she opened the door, she made a disturbing discovery. As TV's Marcia Brady, Maureen McCormick was part of one of the most loving and picture-perfect families you could imagine. But in real life, her own family was far from ideal. There was mental illness, an unstable father, and a secret just waiting to jeopardize the family at any moment. Maureen McCormick was born on August 5, 1956. She grew up in the San Fernando Valley with her parents Irene and Richard McCormick and 3 older brothers. When she was 6 years old, Maureen McCormick competed in the San Fernando Valley beauty pageant, and she snagged the top prize. She also caught the eye of a talent agent who saw something in little Maureen, a star. In 1964, when McCormick was 8 years old, her agent got her a spot in a national commercial for Mattel. After appearing in a national commercial, the next step was obvious: television. Maureen McCormick managed to land the part on the hit ABC sitcom Bewitched. She also had a guest spot on I Dream of Jeannie and My 3 Sons. Young Maureen was busy, and she was about to get busier. Back in 1969, Sherwood Schwartz, the creator of the hit sitcom Gilligan's Island, decided to take on something new, a show about a blended family. The story revolved around a man with 3 sons marrying a woman with 3 daughters. To bring the 6 kids to life, Schwartz had to find the perfect young actors, and he wasn't messing around. He auditioned a whopping 264 hopefuls before landing on his final cast. At just 12 years old, Maureen McCormick nailed her audition and scored the role of Marcia Brady, the eldest daughter. Little did she know that role would stick with her for better or worse, for the rest of her life. Right from the beginning, the Brady Bunch seemed to be something special. A filmmaker from Canada came up with a new effect, especially for the iconic Brady Bunch intro. Each family member had their own square in a 3x3 grid. McCormick appeared in the top left position and what would be referred to as the Brady Bunch effect. Having 6 children on a TV show was a handful for the writers, producers, and crew. Once Maureen McCormick and her screen sister Eve Plum started arguing on set, the writers took a cue from the real-life kids. They decided that the 2 sisters would have an ongoing feud, as many sisters do in real life. But what was behind the arguments between McCormick and Plum? Something not as wholesome as the squeaky clean show. Maureen McCormick had a few complaints about her co-star, Eve Plum. She allegedly had a gas issue and was also known to walk around without clothes, something McCormick often witnessed. On top of the tension between McCormick and Plum, there were other challenges when working with child actors. In 1973, after McCormick was involved in a minor car accident and ended up with a noticeable nose injury, the writers quickly had to rewrite an episode to explain it. This led to the creation of the subject of noses, which became one of the most memorable and referenced episodes of the Brady Bunch. There was just something about the way the football hit Marsha's nose and her subsequent scream, "Oh, my nose," that audiences just couldn't forget. In fact, there are still countless references of the scene in pop culture. Another problem on the Brady Bunch set? Raging hormones. One behind-the-scenes incident the writers couldn't use on the show was the budding bromance between Maureen McCormick and the boy who played her brother, Greg. Both McCormick and Barry Williams, who played Greg, have confirmed that they had a fling while filming the Brady Bunch. There was definitely some tension between McCormick and Williams. One day, while hanging out in Williams' dressing room, things got heated between the 2 actors. But a knock on the door put an abrupt stop to the situation. And as if playing brother and sister on TV wasn't awkward enough, there was another reason their romance was off-limits. Turns out, Williams had his own uncomfortable crush on his TV stepmom, Florence Henderson. Yikes. But the awkward crushes didn't stop there. In her memoir, Here's the Story, Surviving Marcia Brady and Finding My True Voice, McCormick revealed that she had feelings for someone besides her on-screen brother. And this one was a real secret. she had a crush on Robert Reed, the actor who played her dad. Of course, at the time, she had no idea that Reed was attracted to men. Maureen McCormick may or may not have had a third crush while filming The Brady Bunch. Many years later, when McCormick was promoting her memoir, she told a radio show audience that she and Eve Plum had a little romance of their own. McCormick later said that it was a joke, and likely a way to get more publicity for her book. Plum, on the other hand, didn't think the joke was funny at all. Eve Plum didn't say anything about her alleged fling with McCormick, but something she did made it seem like she was angry. When Oprah Winfrey wanted to stage a Brady Bunch reunion, Plum decidedly declined the offer, the only one of the cast to do so. Besides being a TV sensation, the Brady Bunch also crossed over into the music industry. The TV family actually released 4 albums and did an extensive tour, which gave McCormick more time to get closer to her dreamy co-star, Barry Williams. But it wasn't Williams that she sang the most with. It was her on-screen younger brother, Christopher Knight. The two even released an album together. The Brady Bunch was clearly a great success. Or was it? While everyone seems to have fond memories about the Brady Bunch, the ratings for the show weren't actually all that great. So why is the show still loved by millions? It was the reruns that made the Brady Bunch an iconic TV show, and McCormick into a celebrity. In fact, since it went into syndication, it has been on TV somewhere in the United States every day since 1975. By 1975, Maureen McCormick was 19, rich and famous. What could possibly go wrong? With the Brady Bunch behind her, McCormick took a closer look at her real-life family, and it was far from picture perfect. Her mother struggled with mental illness, and so did one of her brothers. Things got even more complicated when her father suddenly became deeply religious, adding tension to the household. But nothing could have prepared McCormick for the family's darkest secret. At one point, she learned the shocking truth about her grandmother and the real reason for her passing. She had been institutionalized, suffering from syphilis. But the worst part? She had unknowingly passed the disease to her daughter, McCormick's own mother. The contrast between her real family and her TV family was too much to handle to escape Maureen. McCormick started partying hard, but the consequences would be brutal. During her partying era, McCormick was engaged in a lot of reckless behavior, and it led to some devastating consequences. In the ages of 18 and 20, she ended 3 separate pregnancies. Later, McCormick blamed her drug use for her reckless past and called herself careless. The morning after one of her hard nights of partying, McCormick woke up and remembered she had a rather important meeting. It was with Steven Spielberg. She hadn't slept and had been using drugs for days, but somehow she still managed to show up for the audition for Raiders of the Lost Ark. Spielberg saw the shape she was in and gave her an orange. Maybe she looked like she needed some vitamin C. Obviously, McCormick didn't get the part. There were also rumors that a Hollywood producer had given her the "You'll never work in this town again" line. Well, McCormick did work again. She landed roles on hit TV shows like Happy Days, Donnie and Marie, The Love Boat, and Fantasy Island. But did she want something more serious? Absolutely. And it didn't get much more serious than Midnight Express, a gritty film about a smuggler trapped in a brutal Turkish prison. McCormick auditioned for the role of a dealer, but according to her, the director couldn't see past Marsha. Her girl-next-door image just didn't fit the film. After that, McCormick seemed to let go of her dreams of a serious acting career. Her next job? It was the final nail in the coffin. Maybe losing the role in Midnight Express made McCormick long for the easy days of being Marcia Brady. At least, that would explain her acceptance of a role in her next project. The Brady Girls Get Married was a TV movie that came out in 1981 about, well, the title says it all. Yes, McCormick was Marcia once again, but the actress had changed. During the filming of the movie, she was still using drugs, but trying to keep it together. When she didn't show up for work one day, the producers quickly grew suspicious. It soon became clear that because of McCormick's addiction, she was in no position to be acting in any movie. They had, however, already started filming. The producers had to rein McCormick in, and did it in a strange way. They wrote up a whole bunch of rules for McCormick's behavior, and one was that she could no longer use her car. McCormick survived the difficult shoot and moved on to something new: romance. Even though Maureen McCormick continued to struggle with her addiction, she was starting to think about settling down with someone nice. One day, while at a concert, a stranger caught her eye, and she decided that he was the man for her. She instantly knew that she wanted to marry him. Now all she had to do was convince him that she was wife material. McCormick says that she needed to find out as much about Michael Cummings as she could. She found out that he was a churchgoer, so she started attending the same church. Once she got to know him, she invited him to a party. The two started dating, and McCormick opened up about the troubles in her life, and then those troubles came back to haunt her. While she was dating Cummings, McCormick relapsed. Luckily for her, Cummings was not one to walk away from a challenge. Instead of leaving her to deal with her issues, he stood by her. And though McCormick had not fully given up on her addictions, the two tied the knot on March 16, 1985. The first years of McCormick's marriage to Cummings were difficult. She went through interventions, visits to rehab, and therapy. One such therapist was Eugene Landy, who was infamous for treating Beach Boy member Brian Wilson. During her time with Landy, McCormick said that she didn't know if she was going or coming. Ultimately, it sent her into a deeper depression than she'd ever been in before. McCormick soon got rid of Landy and decided to just quit the old-fashioned way, one day at a time. Miraculously, it worked. But when she was finally sober, she realized she still had other issues to deal with. While all this was going on, McCormick was still working. In 1987, she appeared in Return to Horror High. This was a low-budget comedy serial film that was mostly unremarkable, except for one thing. It was also the debut of a young actor named George Clooney. The following year, McCormick stepped back into her role as Marcia Brady for A Very Brady Christmas. Nearly the entire original cast returned, proving once again that being a Brady was a reliable paycheck. In May 1989, McCormick and her husband Michael Cummings welcomed their daughter Natalie Michelle, now a wife and mother. It seemed like her struggles were finally behind her, but things weren't that simple. Although she had left drugs behind her, McCormick still battled depression and occasional paranoia. She needed medication to manage it, and her doctor prescribed Prozac, which thankfully seemed to help. McCormick also found herself back in the spotlight, starring as Vrizzo in Grease on Broadway. Since she was already singing on stage, she decided to take another shot at music. Conveniently, her brother owned a record label. In 1995, she released a country album called When You Get a Little Lonely. But there was one condition. She made it crystal clear to her brother and the label, no ties to the Brady Bunch. Unfortunately, things didn't go exactly as she had hoped. When the album went on sale, there was a sticker attached to the cover that said, Marsha, Marsha, Marsha. McCormick was furious. She later found out that a public relations company had put the sticker on the album. So much from breaking free from the Bradys. To make matters worse, the album received mostly negative reviews. One good thing did come out of this country music experiment, a chance at a juicy film role. In 1997, there was a made-for-TV movie in the works that would tell the story of the country singer Barbara Mandrell. McCormick was up for the role, but Mandrell wanted 90210 star Jenny Garth. When Mandrell looked at McCormick, all she saw was Marcia Brady. The producers somehow convinced Mandrell that McCormick was the way to go, but McCormick hadn't done much acting for a long time. Could she pull it off? Mandrell ended up being happy with McCormick's acting. The critics, on the other hand, not so much. While Get to the Heart, the Barbara Mandrell story, had nearly 20 million viewers, it wasn't a critical success. The complaint was that the film glossed over much of Mandrell's life. But there was also a problem with McCormick. Critics weren't kind about her performance, calling it weak and saying she lacked the electric personality of Barbara Mandrell. After that disappointment, McCormick stepped away from the spotlight for a while, but not because she was lying low. She was dealing with serious family drama. He believed that her brother was trying to cut their father off from the rest of the family, allegedly for his inheritance. Then when her mother passed away, things went from bad to worse. The stress took a toll, and McCormick put on some unwanted weight. But instead of hiring a personal trainer, she took a different approach. She joined the reality show Celebrity Fit Club, and it paid off. McCormick ended up setting a record for the highest percentage of weight lost on the show, dropping nearly 23%. Reality TV seemed to work for Maureen McCormick, and she soon signed on to do several more shows, including Gone Country and The Outsider's Inn, which followed McCormick as she opened up a bed and breakfast in Tennessee. It seemed that McCormick had reignited her career, and she loved being herself, and not Marcia Brady. In 2015, she took on another unexpected challenge, competing on I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. The reality show threw her into the Australian jungle alongside athletes, TV hosts, and reality stars, forcing her to survive without modern luxuries. Without hesitation, McCormick packed her bags and headed down under. While appearing on I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, McCormick decided to nonchalantly mention something stunning, that she dated Michael Jackson. Of course, her teammates went wild with the news and pushed for more details. When McCormick mentioned that she and Jackson had only held hands and kissed on the cheek, the news seemed a little less exciting. While filming I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, Maureen McCormick hit it off with Aussie comedian Joel Creasy. After the show, they met up in L.A. and ended up partying pretty hard together. When she got home, her husband wasn't too thrilled. Concerned about her history with addiction, he blamed Creasy, and eventually all the show's cast for being a bad influence. In true Brady fashion, he even grounded her, banning her from seeing them again. Maureen McCormick continues to pursue reality TV experiences that have a tie-in to her iconic role as Marcia Brady. She too stepped to the Brady Bunch theme song on Dancing with the Stars. Then she got together with her TV brothers and sisters on a very Brady renovation. One thing is certainly clear about McCormick. Whether she likes it or not, she'll always be Marsha, Marsha, Marsha.